Thank you for coming today for the seminar on Experience Alberta's Hidden Gems of the Badlands in Southern Alberta. So on the first picture here, you can see the gorgeous landscapes of the Badlands. So here's a picture of myself. My name is Rhonda. I've been with Travel Alberta for about 2 years, but I've been in the tourism industry about 20 years. Thank you very much for joining me today. Again, my name is Rhonda, and I'm the Manager of Experience Development here at Travel Alberta. We are very appreciative of you taking the time to learn more about our beautiful province of Alberta, and specifically today, the hidden gems of the Badlands in Southern Alberta. So I thought I'd start out with a map of Alberta here, just so you can see where we're going to talk about today. We're going to start off in Calgary, and I'll show you a map at the end of the presentation, but Banff and Lake Louise is Lake Louise is right here, and then Banff is right where my arrow is. So Calgary is about an hour and a half, an hour drive from Banff. And then we'll talk a bit about Dinosaur Provincial Park, Drumheller, the historic Bar Diamond Guest Ranch, Medicine Hat, Writing on Stone National Park, down to Waterton, and then up back to Calgary. So this is a lesser known area of the province for our international markets. So I just want to move on here to the next slide and travel east to the Canadian Badlands. So this is east from Calgary. So traveling east from Calgary, you will see where the landscape will change from the Canadian Rockies to the rolling hills to the prairies of the Badlands. It is gorgeous farmland out there, and you will find 2 of Alberta's 5 World Heritage Sites, Dinosaur Provincial Park, and then later on we'll talk about Head Smashed and Buffalo Jump. These Canadian Badlands are home to the world's largest deposits of dinosaur bones. And I wanted to show you this one picture. This is what your tourists will see when they drive to the Badlands from Calgary. And also, I just wanted to mention that at Calgary International Airport, which is the main airport that people would fly into Calgary into Alberta, they can also rent a vehicle. So there's lots of rental car companies that are located at the Calgary International Airport, and it is very easy to rent a vehicle. And the roads are quite wide here in Alberta, and pretty straight. So it is pretty easy driving, even if you're driving on the opposite side of the road for your guests. And just to mention again that we have 2 international airports, so Edmonton International and then Calgary International Airport. So the views your guests are going to see are stunning on the drive. And then we get to Dinosaur Provincial Park. So this is about 2.5 hours east of Calgary. Some of you may be familiar with Drumheller in Alberta, which is about an hour and a half away from Calgary, and that's where the Dinosaur Museum is located, the Royal Tyrrell Museum, and that's where you can go and visit and see the dinosaur bones in the museum. Dinosaur Provincial Park is actually where they find the dinosaur bones. So picture the Canadian Badlands as a subtropical paradise filled with towering redwoods, palm trees, and giant ferns, surrounding a vast inland sea, just as it was 75 million years ago. Now imagine the giant beasts that flourished here. Today, this place is home to the highest concentration of dinosaur period fossils in the world. One of the reasons the Dinosaur Provincial Park has been designated a World Heritage Site to date, dozens of dinosaur bones have been unearthed and more than 300 specimen grace museums around the world. There's plenty to do here. You could start with a bus tour of the park and explore the national preserves, where your guide will show you the shocking landscape exposing the massive dinosaur bones. This area is just, it looks like a movie set. Like, it blows people away the first time they come to this area, and this goes on for miles, this stunning landscape that looks like it's a movie set. And you can actually go on a tour and go behind and actually see the dinosaur bones in the ground and touch them. The first time I was there, I was really shocked that you can actually walk on the dinosaur bones and you can touch them, and the paleontologists say that they only protect the dinosaur bones that are in one piece and all connected, and it's a full specimen of a dinosaur, just because there's so many of them out there. You're not allowed to take the dinosaur bones phones with you, but you can touch them and you can definitely see them when you're going. And the views there are just stunning any time of the day. And you can also travel with a paleontologist and actually go on a guided tour for an active dig site to hunt for your own dinosaur bones. The park is also home to comfort camping tents that we have throughout the province. This is a queen-size bed in a canvas tent with a barbecue, and the view from this tent is right along the river. It is really quite stunning, so people can go camping in Dinosaur Provincial Park. There's a campsite if you do rent campers in your guest rent motorhomes and they travel throughout the province, or you can rent these comfort camping tents that include everything there, and they do have pots and pans and some utensils as well. So there's lots of options for your guests to visit Dinosaur Provincial Park, or they can also do a day trip from Calgary out to Dinosaur Provincial Park. So now moving on to the Bar Diamond Guest Ranch. So this is just located an hour and a half east of Dinosaur Provincial Park, and it's called the Bar Diamond Guest Ranch. It's a working ranch on 34,000 expansive acres along the Red Deer River, surrounded by spectacular land formations of the Canadian Badlands. The view from here is spectacular. Here at the ranch, they live in harmony with the land, learn from nature, know their neighbors, eat very well from local farmers, and know how to have a really good time. Your travelers can be assured to leave their worries behind and hide away at Bar Diamond. The rooms at Bar Diamond are a comfortable mix of true Western hospitality and contemporary comfort. The Bar Diamond Lodge is a century-old log cabin built by early Western pioneers, and over the years it has been updated while still maintaining its original charm. It is comfortable, unassuming, and allows you to reconnect with your beautiful Western surroundings. Watch the sunrise from the log deck while you sit on locally made wicker furniture and enjoy your fellow travelers over a delicious glass of wine. The lodge has 5 bedrooms with the option of a 6th in a closed porch area. The lodge features a large living room, dining area, and kitchen with a roofed porch to kick back and enjoy the ranch on. Located on the same grounds as Bar Diamond Lodge, the Uplands Lodge is a new property that has a great personality of its own. It is a current Western ranch house that encourages friends to come together and enjoy this beautiful setting. The Uplands Lodge is a modern lodge that embodies the comfort of the century escape, featuring a beautiful dining area where all ranch meals are cooked by the lodge cook and served for travelers in family style. The living room area offers a great place to kick back and read a book or catch up on some local news. The upper level features 2 bedrooms, an office space, and the living room and dining rooms. As you can tell, the lodge is pretty cozy, and it gives your guests a true ranch, authentic Alberta experience. So they get to actually interact with the owners of the ranch. They eat with them. They get local cooked food, and it is quite stunning. But a nice part as well is this area here. The lower level is where guests can find a living room, sitting area, and another 4 bedrooms. They also have Billy Miner's Cabin. Is a fun little place for travelers. Nestled among some prairie trees and next to the spring-fed creek, this cabin was built as a tribute to the original homesteader on the land in 1896. He lived in a cabin similar to this one in the very same spot until the completed building his log cabin. This cabin has 2 queen-size beds and a washroom with a toilet. Showers are available in the nearby lodge. But if you're feeling adventurous during your stay, you can spend a night in a teepee located right beside the Bar Diamond Lodge. And this is great because it gives you all the amenities of the washroom from the lodge and the food from the lodge, but you get to actually stay overnight in a teepee. And also on site, your experience at the ranch is much more than just escaping reality. Your first day on the ranch begins with a hearty homemade breakfast, and then you are taken on an interpretive tour of the Blackfoot First Nation Aboriginal site. This site is home to over 600 teepee rings and the only 2 corresponding medicine wheels in North America. You can connect with the past as you walk through the teepee rings, medicine wheels, and Vision Quest site and learn about the fundamentals of this exceptionally rich culture that is still alive and well today in Alberta. This is a very important spiritual place for the Blackfoot and our indigenous community. And while you stand there, you will no doubt feel its power. If you are here in the late summer and early fall, you will be able to forage for juicy cactus berries to eat along the way. Savoring a packed lunch, you will then board the Hearn family's jet boat for an afternoon on the South Saskatchewan River. From the boat, you will see riverside wildlife like elk, deer, coyote, and birds like heron, osprey, and eagles. Discover other extraordinary views accessible from the river. It's really neat because you get to see this extraordinary landscape from the river, which gives you a completely different viewpoint. Along the banks, there's the iconic Badland hoodoos. You will encounter remnants of old stone homes built by pioneers in the 1800s and the current day pipelines that speak to the strength of Alberta's energy industry. The only trails in the landscape are carved by thirsty elk and other wild animals making their way up to the riverbank. Along the river tour, you will return to the ranch for your evening meal and some well-deserved relaxation. On your second day, you will spend the day with the matriarch of the ranch, Carol Hearn, discovering the small prairie towns of Acadia Valley, Empress, and the local Hutterite colony. After breakfast at the ranch, it is off to Acadia Valley to tour the hamlet's historic grain elevator and museum. Learn how the region's traditional grain crops were weighted, graded, and sent across the country by rail from this historic site. And it's pretty neat to see the grain elevators if you haven't seen them before. Even for local Albertans, we don't get the chance to go and actually visit a grain elevator. Next on your countryside tour is a visit to Sagebrush Studio to see the work of landscape painter Dean Francis and his wife Potter Fran. View Dean's impressive artwork in 3 restored historical churches that act as the artist galleries. Here you will find the local landscape captured by this incredible artist's eye, displayed within these churches to the sound of soft music. It is truly magical. And then you can take the walkways through 20 acres of beautiful landscape prairies with ever-changing gardens and water features and relax in a peaceful rest area for a sunny picnic lunch. I also wanted to include a few pictures of the sunsets. We have stunning, gorgeous sunsets here in Alberta, and especially from this Badlands area. The colors that you see in the sky are just amazing, from sunrise to sunset. And then you can also venture off in true ranch fashion on the back of a big-hearted and well-trained horse. Our experienced wranglers will skillfully guide you through the extensive network of trails and while sharing you the lure and wisdom of the Western culture. So I just wanted to go back to the map here just to show you where we just covered. So this is Calgary here. Drumheller is where the Dinosaur Museum is, which is about an hour-and-a-half from Calgary. And then we went out to Dinosaur Provincial Park here, which is about 2 hours-and-a-half from Calgary. And then we just talked about the historic Bar Diamond Guest Ranch. And this is an hour-and-a-half from Dinosaur Provincial Park. So now we are going to go down to Medicine Hat, which is about a 2-hour drive from the historic Bar Diamond Guest Ranch down to Medicine Hat. So just an hour and a half south of Bar Diamond is Canada's sunniest city of Medicine Hat. This city features a vibrant arts and culture scene, a down-home atmosphere, and some memorable coffee shops. You can book a guided progressive cafe walk and historical talk experience that will take you from Medicine Hat's only rotisserie through historic downtown of many of the cafes. Medicine Hat is a smaller town, so it's not a big city in Alberta, but it has this unique, small, historical downtown that has all these amazing coffee shops. So they just love their coffee culture, and it's so unique, all these coffee shops that you can go and explore. Hear from locals why Medicine Hat is the epicenter of cafe culture and one of the best communities to live in Alberta. Then you can go tour the historic Clay District where Medalta potteries can be found. It was here that pottery was made and shipped around the world as one of Canada's first exports. Today, this pottery is globally sought after. The iconic Medalta Potteries National Historic Site is a century-old factory framed in an industrial museum. Here you will walk the same floors as the early workers in the historical industry factory. Enter the Medalta's iconic beehive kiln. You can enter a working studio and meet the workers who will create pottery using the same machines and methods used over a century ago. Then also in Medicine Hat, you can go on a fishing tour with the Alberta Sturgeon Fishing. Along the banks of the South Saskatchewan River, southwest of Medicine Hat is where one of the most incredible adventures in Alberta can take place. As you float along the river, following in the footsteps of the Blackfoot, First Nations, and dinosaurs, today we find signs of their life all along the river: teepee rings, buffalo jumps, and dinosaur bones. Surprisingly, there is living proof of this prehistoric age beneath the water, Alberta's living dinosaur, the sturgeon fish. Join Alberta sturgeon fishing owner Brent on the river to experience the true power of a sturgeon, where you can watch it come clear out of the water and fight like no other fish in Alberta. Here's a picture of Stephanie, who works with me at Travel Alberta and Experience Development, and she went on this excursion. As you can tell, she got a little sun that day on her face, but she caught this sturgeon, and it was really big. The largest fish caught on the river has been 98 pounds, and there still are larger ones in there. Not only sturgeon can be found in the water, and while you are there, you will also experience golden eagles, hawks, falcons, pelicans, blue herons, mule deer, coyotes, fox, bobcat, moose, and elk. So there's lots of different animals that you will be able to see throughout the trip on the river. Cypress Hills Provincial Park is just south of Medicine Hat, and there it sits on the border of Alberta and Saskatchewan, and it's the only interprovincial park in Canada. The highest spot between the Canadian Rockies and Atlantic Canada. It sits in the same elevation as Banff National Park. Now, the first time people hear this, it makes them think, the highest elevation, because Banff, everyone thinks Banff is really high, which it is, but then you go through the prairies in Alberta, and then you come back up, and then you see this high location, and it's pretty neat, the views from up there. In the summertime, you can explore extensive hiking and biking and watch for the abundance of wildlife and over 100 species of bird life. So I just added a few pictures here of some animals that you can see in this area. This is the mule deer, and then the mooses in the park, which are pretty phenomenal to see them. There's a few pictures there of the moose that can be seen. And then also, they have a great restaurant there. It's a rustic gourmet experience awaits you with a homey feel at Camp Cookhouse, where all the dishes are prepared by one of Canada's top chefs with all local ingredients. The chef that opened up this restaurant called Camp Cookhouse was on Top Chef Canada and was a runner-up. So the food there is unbelievable. They smoke all their own meats, pickle their own vegetables, and just like cattle, are locally born and bred. You can stay to swim, paddle, or flop on the beach at Elkwater Lake, where you can stay in Elkwater Lake Resort. The sunsets again and the stars are phenomenal out there. So just to recap on the map, we just went from the ranch down to Medicine Hat, down to Cypress Hills. So this is where Elkwater is located as well. And so now we're going to go on to Writing on Stone National Park, Provincial Park, and then down to Waterton and back up to Calgary. So you can see the little loop that we're doing. So down to Writing on Stone Provincial Park. In the Milk River Valley is Writing on Stone Provincial Park and National Historic Site. This special place contains the largest collection of rock art on the North American plains. Petrographs and pictographs carved on and painted on sandstone walls record the history of Blackfoot and Shoshone people. You can book a tour with a First Nations guide to explore the rock art in the archaeological preserve. And this is really stunning here. You can barely see it, but when you're up close, it's hard to pick up on the camera, but along this wall, and it goes for a very long time, you can see the stunning pictures that were on there from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and there's only a few places in North America that you can see this density of native rock art on the wall still preserved. It is quite stunning to see. So off to Waterton Lakes National Park. So welcome to the crown of the continent at Waterton Lakes National Park. Here you will find everything you need to explore, including restaurants, shops, rentals, hotels, and campgrounds. So Waterton Lakes National Park it's a bit smaller than Banff and Lake Louise, and it's a bit less known. So it's great for people to go, and the mountains are a bit different down there too, so it's really neat to go see the difference of the two different areas in Alberta. And right here, this is the Prince of Wales Hotel, which is the famous hotel. And you can see here that the Waterton Lakes National Park, you'll be able to see the dramatic collision of the prairies and the mountains in the southwest corner of Alberta. It has forged a combination of grasslands, wetlands, aspen groves, and evergreen forests and alpine tundra. The hidden gem is only 3 hours away from Calgary. In this picture, you can see the famous Prince of Wales Hotel. And then this is the view from inside the hotel. This hotel offers afternoon tea and spectacular views, and it does have a restaurant that's open, so if you're not staying at the hotel, you could always come and enjoy afternoon tea or go have a drink in the lounge with this spectacular view. One of the main experiences that you can do at Waterton is go on the shoreline boat cruise. Guests can enjoy a 2-hour interpretive boat ride on the Waterton Shoreline Cruise. On this cruise, you'll see amazing scenery, animals, and cross the border to the United States. So at the very back of the lake is the United States. So this interpretive boat cruise takes you to the back of the lake. And then, so at the very back there is the United States, and you get off the boat in the United States for about 15-20 minutes, and then you get back on the boat. So you don't need your passport because you're not crossing the border officially anywhere. So you get off the boat and then you get right back on the boat, and the views are stunning. So on to Red Rock Canyon is one of the most notable experiences here at Waterton Park. It is a trip to Red Rock Canyon. To understand why Waterton is known as where the mountains meet the prairies, take the half-hour drive along the stunning Red Rock Parkway and then hike the many trails at the top. It's just gorgeous the way this rock here is red, and you can see numerous animals as well. So here's some pictures of some of the animals that you can see in the park. And this is a beautiful waterfall just at the bottom of Waterton Lakes National Park that you can see, and you're constantly seeing animals everywhere in our national park. So now when you leave Waterton, you head north back to Calgary, and along the way you can stop at Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. It's one of the oldest and best preserved of its kind in North America. It stands as a testimonial to the way of life of the Blackfoot Native people who are thousands of years drove the buffalo off high cliffs to sustain their tribes. Tour the Interpretive Center, hike with a Blackfoot guide, experience the First Nations culture through stories, drumming, and dancing. So along the way, you can also stop just before getting to Calgary on Highway 22, which is the Cowboy Trail with stunning views, is Eau Claire Distillery. Eau Claire Distillery is located in Turner Valley, uses ancient techniques, modern creativity, and local grains and botanicals to produce its farm-to-glass premium distilled spirits. Take a tour of Alberta's first independent craft distillery and visit the tasting room to sample these unique small batches. So they do amazing tours through their distillery, and right now they have produced vodka and gin, and they're working on whiskey, which takes 5 years to make. And it's a great little stop, and it's Alberta's first boutique distillery. And then in Calgary, now, I also wanted to mention that we have a brand new company called Calgary Brewery Tours, and Calgary is full of breweries, and they're the first company that has come together to create a brewery tour that goes to 5 distinct unique breweries in Calgary and includes lunch. The tour goes every Thursday and Friday, and they also do a tour on Sundays that goes down to Eau Claire Distillery and 1 brewery in Calgary, and then a meadery at Honey Chinook Meadery. So it's a really unique experience if your guests like beer, that they would have a great time and would love to go to. So I just wanted to go over the map here, and I've sorry about that. I included Banff and Lake Louise and then Jasper for you to just get an idea of where everything is in Alberta, because I know most of you are familiar with Banff and Lake Louise and Calgary. So just to get an idea of the timing again, for Banff to Calgary is about 1 hour and 20 minutes, and Lake Louise to Banff is about a 40-minute drive. And then since we're talking about Banff, I just thought I'd throw in a couple of pictures. This is pictures I took this weekend from hiking out in Sunshine Meadows. So most of you probably are aware that Sunshine is a ski hill between Banff and Lake Louise. But this summer, the ski hill has opened its gondola, and it's 1 chairlift to take you to the very top of the ski hill, where you can go on these amazing hikes, and you get up to the top of the mountain very quickly, and you can hike to these 2 lakes here in the picture. There's actually a 3rd lake that you can't see in the picture, but it's about a 2-hour hike that takes you down there and around and back up. And the wildflowers right now, these are pictures from out there once you get down off the ramp. The wildflowers are quite stunning out there, and it's amazing hiking in the area, and it's just stunning views from the top. So again, here's just a map, just to recap that we talked about Calgary, going off to Drumheller, Dinosaur Provincial Park, the historic Bar Diamond Guest Ranch, down to Medicine Hat, and then over to Cypress Hills, Writing on Stone National Park, and then up to Waterton. And I just wanted to also mention for Waterton, if you're having difficulty finding hotel rooms, there's 2 places located a half an hour outside of Waterton, Pincher Creek area, and then the Crow's Nest Pass is a half-hour drive, so you could do day tripping into Waterton if you're having hotel problems in the summertime, and then up to Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump, and then up the Cowboy Trail here back into Calgary. So that's all I have. Back to you, Charlie. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen as well.
Thank you, Rhonda.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. It was such a mix of what we had: dinosaurs, the ranch stay, historic sites, beautiful Waterton National Park, and then a bit of alcohol at the end as well. So that always goes down well. So thank you so much for that. So guys, the floor's open for questions. Please type your questions into the chat box. Rhonda, maybe if you could just go back to that last map.
The one, why don't we put the one on with bands?
Oh, yeah, perfect. So just in terms of, what sort of length trip you're talking, I know you mentioned you could obviously do a day trip to Dinosaur Provincial Park and then back to Calgary. If you were going to continue and do the loop, where might you stay and how long would that take?
Yeah, so I'm just going to go forward here just to this other map. Give me one moment here. So from Calgary to Dinosaur Provincial Park. So you could do that in a day trip, which is about 2.5 hours each way. But then once you get to Dinosaur Provincial Park, you could spend 3 to 4 hours there and then drive back. If you wanted to go to the Bar Diamond Guest Ranch, so if you stay in right by Dinosaur Provincial Park here, there's only camping located right in the park, but there's a smaller town called Brooks. But what we would recommend is driving from Calgary to Dinosaur Provincial Park and then either continuing on to Medicine Hat, which would be about another hour and 45 minutes, or going out to the historic Bar Diamond Guest Ranch that we talked about, which is another hour and a half. So you could do that in a day trip at Calgary Dinosaur Provincial Park and then either stay in the historic Bar Diamond Guest Ranch or in Medicine Hat. And then from Medicine Hat, you could do a day trip or one day going down to Waterton. So from Medicine Hat, you could stop in Cypress Hills Provincial Park, do all the attractions we talked about in Medicine Hat, stop off at Writing on Stone National Park, and then go on to Waterton. So Medicine Hat down to Writing on Stone is only about a 2-hour drive. So it's a very good trip to go down to Waterton with a few stops along the day. And then Waterton up to Calgary is about 3 hours.
Perfect, thank you. So that really shows how accessible it all is, because it's a bit hard from the map to know if we're talking big distances, but actually we're talking really quite short distances and lots of change in scenery in a short space of time.
Yeah, it's quite stunning how drastic the scenery changes from the Canadian Rockies within, a 4-hour time span from if you take Banff going all the way to Dinosaur Provincial Park, that's about 3.5 hours. You see the stunning Rockies to the rolling foothills to the prairie farmland, and then it drops off into the gorgeous, stunning Badlands area.
So with Dinosaur Provincial Park, Melinda has a question about the tents. So how are the tents booked?
Yeah, so right now, since they are in a provincial park, they have to be booked online on the Dinosaur Provincial Park website. But I would definitely check with your local wholesalers, your preferred Canadian wholesaler that you work with, as we are working with the provincial park, so that the tour operators will be able to book them, because they are quite a unique tenting experience in Alberta, and they do have them throughout the province. So if you are interested in that, definitely talk to your preferred Canadian wholesaler, who can then touch base with me on, and I'll be working with the parks on having them be able to pre-book through the tour operators for you.
That's excellent. Thank you. Samantha says, is there any way besides self-drive to get to Waterton from Calgary?
Besides self-drive, right now, not at the moment. You could ask your preferred wholesaler to hire a private transfer, would be the only way. There's not at the current time like a daily departure from Calgary that goes down to Waterton, but you could hire a private transfer. And we are working, and we have heard that there is a need for like a daily transfer, like how Banff has from Calgary and Edmonton out to Jasper. So we are looking at that, working with a local provider to get the daily transfer down to Waterton.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, it's such a beautiful place, and yeah, really not that far from Calgary. But like you said, the driving from Calgary to Waterton would be pretty straightforward, not too busy, and like you say, even though it's the wrong side of the road for us, it's not difficult driving. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. And that road down to Waterton is almost always the whole way 2 lanes on each going in each direction. So it's on one of the main highways.
Lovely. Thank you. I think that's all the questions. Jody has asked for your email address, Rhonda. Maybe we'll send out the follow-up information, so you will get an email information from myself and Rhonda, so you'll be able to follow up with her if you do have any other questions. But I think we'll sign off there.
Yeah, perfect. And they can always feel free to contact Lizzie as well, who's based in Australia that works for Travel Alberta as well.
Yeah, we'll put everybody's contact details in the follow-up, so you definitely know where to go to get more info.
That sounds great. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks everybody so much. Have a great day, and we hope to see you next time.